Breaking news, everyone. I'm coming to you really quickly to give you this update. The BOI, or Beneficial Ownership Information Form, requirements are back on. So as of February 18th, 2025, they are back on. And I'm going to tell you why I think that this is likely to be the case going forward, because there's been a lot of back and forth in the courts about this. There have been judges who deemed it unconstitutional. But at this point, what has happened is in the Texas court, the judge that deemed it unconstitutional actually said that they are putting a stay on that ruling while it's being appealed. So that means that the US government can enforce the deadline. Now, as of today, that new deadline has been set to be March 21st of 2025, which gives us roughly 30 days from that ruling to get those reports in. So if you have not done your BOI form yet, on the FinCEN website, now is probably a good time to go ahead and do that. I'm going to walk you through the process step by step. Literally, this can take you less than 5 minutes. Now, if you're watching this video and wondering if there are further changes, definitely go check out this website. This is the official place to find all of the most important updates, and that's where you're going to find what's going on right now. So what I love about this is actually fincen.gov/BOI. I'll put the link down in the comments for you. And what you can do here is find out more about it, figure out if you qualify for an exemption, and it's also going to give you these alerts. So these have basically been the various different alerts that have happened over time. So you can see sort of how this has changed and evolved. So I've been checking here. I've gotten a lot of false alarms where people have said BOI is back on, but it really wasn't. So this is the place to check if you're not sure if anything that you're hearing out there is correct. You got to go directly to the FinCEN website. So this is where I looked when I heard that yes, BOI was back on. I came directly here to check and see, but it does say they're once again back in effect. However, because the Department of Treasury recognizes that reporting companies may need additional time to comply, you think, FinCEN is generally extending the deadline 30 calendar days from February 19th for most companies. So the new deadline is March 21st, 2025. You can see down here. So you can read a little bit more about it and understand what exactly is going on here. Now, does that mean that the ruling was overturned and it was found that this rule was constitutional? No, it doesn't mean that, actually. What's really happening is that that is still going on. So there is an appeal in the Texas courts right now to determine if the judge who ruled it unconstitutional is correct or not, essentially. And so what's happening is there's not going to be oral arguments on that until March 25th, currently is the scheduled date for that, if it doesn't get moved, of this year. Which means if your BOI forms are due March 21st, and the next step of this court case isn't even going to start until March 25th, more than likely, I don't see anything changing between now and March 21st. Now, after the fact, things could happen. They could walk it back and say, oh, never mind, we're not going to enforce it. But as of right now, we don't know. So I have been telling people kind of wait it out if they're worried about, giving their information or whatever reason you don't want to do it. But now I'm changing that and saying, you know what? I don't think that's going to change between now and March 21st. So especially if you have a fairly simple structure, take the 5-10 minutes and go file these and get your peace of mind. And then you don't even have to pay attention to these updates anymore. Yay. So I promised you a step-by-step walkthrough. I'm going to do that really quick here so you can see how quick and easy this is. Now, the one main question I had when I came to this website, again, it's linked down below so that you can follow along, was do I need a FinCEN ID? Right? What is this about the FinCEN ID? It says optional. Why would I want one? What I've come to realize is that the FinCEN ID is going to be helpful if, let's say, you have multiple different companies and you don't want to have to answer, the same questions over and over again and keep attaching your driver's license and things like that. You can go ahead and create a FinCEN ID, and then that makes it easier when it comes to reporting for multiple different companies. So if you're an owner in multiple companies, which I am, then you might want to take the extra step and do the FinCEN ID. It's going to be easier to update things later. So for example, you're going to put your information into your FinCEN ID, including things like your address, etc. And if that changes in the future, you need to go back and you need to change those. Now, if you've done it through your FinCEN ID, then if you change your, let's say your address or something like that in the future, you change it for your FinCEN ID, and then all of the different BOI forms will automatically update. That is my understanding. However, if you just do several different BOI forms and fill them all out individually and don't have a FinCEN ID to identify yourself, you're going to have to go back to each and every one of those BOI forms and amend it. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the extra process. I'm going to create the FinCEN ID, but that's totally up to you. If you only have one business, you might not need to do this. So I'm going to click on this to create a FinCEN ID. We're going to do this in real time, y'all. And of course, right now it is going very slowly because probably a lot of people are trying to do this all of a sudden. So these are applicants, sign in or create an account. I'm going to have to create an account. Of course, down here, it can give you some more information for you to decide whether or not this is right for you. Okay, so I'm going to go to create an account because I don't have one right now. And I'm going to pause this while I fill this out so you don't see my personal information. Now, it turns out when I actually went through the process to create my account, I found out I already had a login.gov email and login. And so I had to reset the password because I had no idea what it was. But ultimately, if you have created anything, if you've logged into the IRS or the Treasury for any reason, even if you have, I think, TSA PreCheck, you might already have a login.gov account. So I went ahead and did that. And now I'm going to file the FinCEN ID application. Mine did time out, so I had to go back into it and re-log in. So you might have to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and fill out all of this. It looks like it's going to ask me for my first name, last name, date of birth, address, just all of my information. And then I'm going to have to upload my driver's license or some type of ID. So you'll want to have that ready if you're going ahead and doing this. But the great thing about doing it this way with your FinCEN ID is if you create this FinCEN ID, when you go file those BOI reports, you can just put in your FinCEN ID instead of having to go in and re-enter all this information and re-upload your driver's license every time. Okay, so I just got my FinCEN ID number. That took like 1 minute to do. And I went ahead and made sure to save that documentation somewhere that I would not forget it and to go ahead and copy that number because I'm going to use it right now when I go back to fill out my BOI forms. So that's where I am right now. I went back to fincen.gov/BOI. And now I'm going to go ahead and file a report using the BOI e-filing system. So here we are, and you should be able to see some updates if there are any up here as well. And we're going to press get started. And we're going to figure out how we want to do this. Do we want to do it as a PDF? I don't know why we would do it that way. I'm going to go with online because that seems like the most straightforward. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare and submit it online. We're going to read this. Of course, we always read our warnings. Great. I agree. They are watching us. It's fine. Okay. Beneficial ownership information report. So here we are. We're going to start right now. We're going to hit initial report. Now, this is good to know because if we ever need to update this, this is where we're going to go. Okay. So this is where we can come and correct reports that we previously filed. Here's the date. That's the date it is today. I'm going to read this. I won't make you read it, but it's important to go ahead and just understand what exactly we are doing here. And the Privacy Act. Okay, great. Let's go to next. And so we've already done this. So we've done our FinCEN ID. So we don't need to do this now, but it looks like we could have done it right here too. So we already have that. So we're going to come down here and we're going to put in the information for our reporting company. Now, importantly, if you aren't sure what your reporting company name is, go check any legal documents you have. If you have LLC, for example, documents, go and check those and see what the actual official name is. I know sometimes that naming convention can be the biggest issue when things don't match up. So make sure it matches your paperwork. Then you're going to come down and pick your tax ID type. For most of us, it's probably going to be an EIN, or it could also be a social security number if that's what you have. Remember, this is about your company, not you. So right now we are talking about the reporting entity, not the person. We're going to get to it here in a minute when we get to company applicant. But right now, this is the reporting company information we're putting in. So I'm going to put in my EIN for my S corporation. So once you filled that in, again, if you're not sure, go back to your tax return. That could also be a place to find your EIN information. You're going to then put in your country, your state, and then you're going to put in your current U.S. address. Now, this is the reporting company address, like I said. So if you have a business address where you actually conduct business, that's what you would put in here. if maybe you work from home, this could be your home address. So you can read a little bit more about what this exactly means and what address they are looking for here. And again, you might want to go back and check formation documents or what you're filing with the IRS just to make sure you are consistent. Okay, so this step got a little bit confusing for me, I will say. So now I'm on the company applicant step. And this is where there's a really important question that you need to make sure you answer correctly, which is this 16 existing reporting company. So if you were in existence, if that company, that LLC was in existence prior to January 1st of 2024, you're going to check this box. By checking this box, essentially it's going to make it that you don't have to answer any of these questions on this page about the company applicant. Now, the reason for that seems to be that these company applicants are essentially the people who actually applied to create the company. So if it was before 2024, essentially they're thinking that, oh, well, it might be hard to track down who actually filed the original paperwork and who that company applicant was. So they are going to essentially allow you not to fill this out. But if you're a newer company, you probably know who actually did this paperwork, and you can go ahead and enter all this information for them, which might be you if you filed the paperwork. It might be your accountant, it might be your lawyer, but whoever actually filed the paperwork for the completion of or the creation of the company. Now we're going to get to beneficial owners in a minute, so you're probably going to show up on that one, even if you don't have to fill this out. So let's go ahead and click existing reporting company. It's going to tell us, hey, we don't need to do the rest of this. Yep, that's okay. And again, if you are a newer company, you can't check that. You will have to go through that process. But if you are like me and you're an existing business, you can click that. You can go down through here, but there's nothing for you to actually fill out. So we're going to click next. And now we're going to put in that beneficial ownership information. So this is the key place. So what we're going to see here is parent guardian information instead of minor child. So if you have a minor child that is a beneficial owner, like an actual owner in your business, then you would click this, and then it would basically say that you put in the information for the parent or guardian. However, let's come on down here. Let's assume that maybe we are the 100% owner of our business and we're the only beneficial owner of the business. So let's go ahead and put in that FinCEN ID that we signed up for. And if you didn't sign up for a FinCEN ID, you are going to have to put all this information down here, including your address, your ID type, all of that. And then you're going to have to go ahead and upload your driver's license or your passport. So again, if you already have the FinCEN ID, you just put that, and then you don't have to fill out the rest of this because they already have that information associated with the FinCEN ID. Okay, so now we're already to the submittal phase. So again, if you have multiple beneficial owners though, you will have to go in and add them on this step. So if you only have one and it's you, then that's going to be really easy. If you have multiple beneficial owners, that is where you're going to have to go in and add them. So let's go to that last step, which is submit. And I'm going to put in my email, my name, and agree. And then I'm also going to certify that I am a human being. And then we're going to be all done. So there you have it. That's all that it took. It was just a couple of minutes. Now I'm going to go back and do the same thing for my other company that I have. And I'm going to use that same FinCEN ID. So it should be something that I can do in just 2 or 3 minutes and finish that up as well. Now, if you have any questions about this, I'm going to be talking about these BOI changes in my next Power in Numbers Live, which is my live show that I do once a month. So I have one coming up at the end of February. You can also submit questions to that. So if you have questions on BOI or anything else, make sure to subscribe to this channel and then go hit the button below where it gives you the link to go submit questions for our live show. And hopefully I will pick your question and I'll answer it. Thanks so much for being here. Make sure you're subscribed for future updates, and I'll see you next time.